Hey guys, and welcome to another video with me, Joe Farr. Today I am mastering a track for a band from my local town, Abergavenny, which is in South Wales. The band are called Acid Love. This track is called Static. They popped up on socials the other day and I gave them a message to see if they wanted me to master their stuff, and I'm going to produce a video for this track. So I really like these tunes. This track, I'd say the band are the style of the band is kind of indie, bit shoegazy. I mean, I'm a bit lost on genres these days, but it's a nice track and has a couple of sections in it. Whole thing kind of builds, and some interesting use of some spoken word taken from a film or something. So I'm going to go through it and master it, talk you through why I'm doing what I'm doing, and then we'll see how it turns out at the end. So let's get into it. So I'm going to just take a few flicks through the track. It's got a little intro here.
Get up.
What time is it?
Time to get up and give this place a going over. Looks like the Marines have landed.
Oh, that bunch last night was high enough to take over the Marines.
Better get on there.
So there we go. So what I'm feeling from that is we've got three sections: the intro, middle section, and the kind of grand finale, with a bit of rocking out at the end. So overall, the tonal balance is not bad. In the middle section, I want to bring out a bit more warmth, especially in the vocals. And in the end section, there's a couple of harsh bits I want to control. And also I feel like the kick drum is it's not at home in the mix. It's not sitting that well. So let's see what we can do with this. And because we've got a couple of sections here, there may well, and they're quite different, there may well be some automation that happens so that I'm only affecting one section and not the other. So let's have a look at the first section here. I'm just going to play it through and play around with a couple of plugins, and if they work, I'll let you know. And if they don't work, I'll let you know. So I'm just using Soothe there to get some of that kind of, it's not quite harshness, but it's Not quite harshness. I need a thesaurus. Can anybody lend me a thesaurus? Different word for harshness that is not quite as harsh as harshness, but kind of, I don't want to say boxy either. Oh dear. This'll never do. Kind of a bit aggressive in a way, I guess, without being harsh. Oh dear, words aren't working. Maybe if I do the delta, then we'll be able to hear what's missing. Then the word will come to me. Let's see. Yeah, maybe not a bit nasally. I don't think the vocalist has a nasal voice, but there's a element of, oh fucking hell, fucking hate talking on videos. It's doing my head in. It's fine. Anyway, I'm going to say mid-range, bit too much mid-range. So like you can hear with the delta on soothe. There is some harshness from the guitars there, but also a bit too much on the vocal as well. Just a bit too much kind of pressure on that between 2K and 2.5K. So let's do that. I love how the bass drum is kind of there but not there. It's just like a nice supporting element. All the drums actually are really nice in this section. So another plugin I've been using quite a bit is Michelangelo by Hendy Amps, which is based on a very expensive piece of hardware, and it's a mastering grade plugin, meaning it's not that drastic. It can be, especially in the mid-range, but generally it's just for finer tweaks. So I'm going to do a little mid-range cut on this one. So we've got the amount here. 5 is kind of like 0, and then you've got your frequency down here, various other settings to make it dynamic, and you can affect the mid of the signal, the side, and another one which is great is the transient of that band or the body, so the kind of hit or the tail. So very useful tool. Let's just have a little listen. And this plugin has match for the output, which is great, so you don't have to level match. Oh, you have to play the song though to make it work. So it'll account for any changes you've made and boost or decrease the volume accordingly. Right, I'm just going to inflate. Just give it a bit of beef, and I don't want to use aroma. I might just use some parallel expansion on the low mids. So I've got it set. This is like a good starting point between 160 and 800, but I'm probably going to go down a little bit, 500. This is Dyne 1. Just to try and get a bit more low mid warmth on there. And this one doesn't have a volume compensation button like Michelangelo, so take note, Leap Wing, that would be really useful, because we've got the input here and the output here, so you have to match them like that really. And I can solo this band so we can hear what area we are affecting. And then I'll just do a bypass so you can hear the difference. And the way I'm working for this video, because I'm not using hardware because it's too complicated with the video and audio setup, it makes my life difficult, and I want to make my life easier. So I'm just doing this in the box. I've got the pre-master set up here on another channel, so I can quickly just solo that to compare to my processed work. So I'd say I probably pushed it a bit too much in the low mids there. So let's back off. Right, this section is looking nice, sounding nice even. I don't really need to use a clipper. Let's see. And the mix is in really good shape, so well done, Acid Love, you're doing a great job. Right, I'm just going to have a little bit of compression in this section. A little bit of compression. This is a really clean compressor, Kotelnikov by Tokyo Dawn. Get it. And this has a genius function, which is it will estimate the volume, and you can trim so that you're level matched. And then we've got the delta, so we can listen to what's being compressed. And then there's an equal loud bypass button. So well done, TDR, you are nailing it as per usual. I'm not trying to do anything crazy with the compression, I'm just doing about a decibel gain reduction there. It's just going to help glue things together. Then my favourite compressor for warmth is Green by, who are these guys? Kazrog, which is going to help this track because I mentioned on my last video it has a smile curve, so we get a little boost in the low end, a little boost in the high, and the mids just get scooped a little. So let's have a listen. And that is just the tone of the box, so there's no compression going on there. This compressor, I can't recommend it enough. It just makes things sound like a finished track. And if you feel it's too much, just go with the wet dry knob. I've got mine set up, a preset called Steady Start, so everything is fairly gentle. Attack and releases are medium, so there's no drastic compression going on at all. It's just giving me that box tone, and I can push the threshold to get a little bit of gain reduction. One thing they need to work on though is this VU meter. It's just not very responsive, so it'd be nice to think it's cutting a little bit too much, so we're going to go 65%. Nice. Then I'm going to check the very low end, because I did see some super subs going on at some point. And for cutting out that super low end subsonic frequency, I use infrasonic, also by Tokyo Dawn Labs. And then I'm going to leave the limiter alone for a minute, because we need to look at the last section, which is a bit louder and heavier. So I'm happy with that first section. Let's see how everything reacts when it comes to the bigger section at the end. Not too badly, actually. That's sounding great. I think I might need a little bit of top end. So first stop for that for me is a bit of parallel expansion. So back to Dyne 1. Just wanted those cymbals to be brought out a bit, because they sound a little bit flat in this last section. But I just want to see how that affects the other section first. Nice. I'm just going to have a look at the snare. So it's getting struck quite a bit harder now in this section, and I'm going to just reorder the plugins. I'm going to get rid of that, so I'm not going to use it. Multiplicity can do anything, and what I wanted to do in this case is, because I brought out the low mids in the first section, and I think I want to keep them in the second section on the kind of vocals and guitars, but the snare is now coming out too much. So I'm going to just see if I can control that for the second section only. Which shouldn't be a problem, because that snare isn't in the first section, I believe. So I've got a preset here, which I use for kick drums, but it works for pretty much any percussion instrument. So you can see it's just catching the kick drum there. It is also getting the snare where I want it to get. So I will need to play around. Maybe I want to catch the kick as well. Let's just have a look. Yeah, so a little bit of kick at the front on those first hits, and then it's digging into the low mids of that snare. Might be a little too much, so if I up the threshold a bit, I should leave the kick alone now. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. So it's just getting the snare now. You can see in this second section that Soothe is doing quite a bit more work in the harshness area, so we might look at adjusting that now. So it is taming it quite a bit, and we might need to back off on that, so in which case I will automate. So let's have a listen. Yeah, so that's the harshness I'm talking about, which, you know, this track played loud, you're gonna feel that in your ears. So I'm just gonna automate. So I just put it on touch mode and then play the track. Then I twiddle the parameter, then I put it back to read, and then Reaper, because it's so kind, it has put in the automation lane underneath. So I'm just going to bring it down a bit, and then those are the automation points that I did when I twiddled the knob. Just delete them. Delete them, I said. Delete them. Delete points in time selection. And then I'll just lower the depth at the point that I need to. So we're probably coming back a bit. I want it to start there. When the guitars come in proper. So if you just look at the knob here, check out this knob, and you should see it decrease. The depth should decrease. It's like magic. So that's the automation. Then I can just have a little listen to the difference, or the delta. Delta. So at this point, I'm just kind of listening through and tweaking any little bits I think I need to tweak. So my instinct there was, oh, maybe those cymbals are a bit too much now. and I went to reach for Dyne 1, but instead what I usually do, don't know why I forgot to do it then, in this situation is just put a high shelf on the EQ at the end. So I'm still having those that dynamic expansion on the highs. I can just bring it down a little bit at the end. And I find that way just works better sometimes. Just sounds a bit cleaner. So, and what I should be doing here is level matching the master, or the master in progress, and the pre-master. Just realised my mouth was like wide open then. My wife is always picking me up on that. She's like, chin up, chin up. She's right. So I'm just looking at the LUFS meter. My favourite meter in the world. I love a LUFS. Love to love you. I don't like it really. Don't like the numbers game. But for matching, it's important. For level matching, it's very important. Yeah, pretty much the same. Nice, and then we're going to head to the limiter, and I use DMG Limitless. Other limiters are available, but this is the one I use. I do sometimes use Fab filters, whatever it's called, Pro L, and sometimes I use Limitless and Pro L in sequence, so one after the other. If something's really like a really thick mix, I might use two limiters if I need to get to a certain volume, and one limiter just isn't handling it and you get some distortion. So using two limiters is a good way around that. Another good solution. So that's sounding great. So what I will do is I will drop the limiter onto the pre-master, which will give us a fairer comparison rather than just being fooled by the volume of having less dynamic range on the limiter on the mastered version, and no compression or limiting on the pre-master. The master's always going to sound better. So to make it fairer, we just put the limiter on there to bring it up to the same rough area of loudness. So hitting about 10 LUFS there, and I'm not sure what kind of volume level these guys want to go for, but I'm happy around there for this kind of music, so I will send that master off to them, and if they're happy with it, brilliant. If not, they can have it quieter or louder. Yes, pretty happy with the result of that. It's just that kind of mid-range stuff that when there's lots of vocals, lots of guitars, they've also got that vocal sample, everything's fighting for the space there, and I think in mixing it's easy to just keep pushing stuff up to get it to be heard, but what can happen is everything's fighting for a bit of space. So I feel like bringing out those low mids has helped give a bit of depth to the guitars and the vocal, cutting a bit of that higher mid-range harshness stuff has created a bit more room as well, and then bringing up the highs just gives a little top end extra element. And I didn't actually add any low end, but that, my favorite compressor, thank you computer, the green is just giving a little low end lift, which I think has brought the whole track together. So, anything else to report on this one? You know what, I'll let you know what they say, and then I'll report back to you guys in the comments. So, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Stop.